expert panel on branding and brand guidelines for small business. We have a fantastic panel here today who are each going to talk a little bit about their experience with branding, and then at the end, as we normally do, everyone feel free to sort of ask questions as we're going, and then we'll have a bit of a Q&A session at the end. We are joined today by Darrell, who is from Creation. We've got Jessie from Signable and OneUp, and Trudy from Avery Creative. I love your background, Trudy. That's really on brand. Yeah, it's nicely done. So we're going to hear from each person, and they're going to have a few minutes to speak or have a long they want, and then we'll carry on. There is a webinar chat, so if you want to kind of introduce yourselves and introduce your business, and if you've got any questions that you want to put to people, then feel free to type it into the chat. If you want the attendees to see it, you'll need to select all panelists and attendees, because I think the default is just to go to us panelists. But feel free to do that, or there's the Q&A function, which is I think at the bottom of your screen, and just fill in a question and we'll ask that. So let's kick off. Darrell, do you want to start?
Yeah, hi. Everyone that's watching, I've got really bad hay fever eyes, hence why the sunglasses is not part of my brand, so just get that out of the way. Situation is, for most people that when they're starting a brand, they move over to what we often hear is branding. So it's like, how do I create a logo and stick that logo on as many things as possible, and that's my brand. But that's a fundamental difference. Brand is about story, it's about messaging, it's about creating culture. And then branding are essentially the assets that you generate. That could be a letterhead, could be a business card, if anyone uses those anymore. And that's the fundamental difference. So there are a lot of companies even emerging now that are saying we're coming up with brand automation software. And in fact, it's actually branding automation software and sticking the logo on as many things as possible. So let me talk a little bit about brand, and then we'll get back to branding. And the main thing with brand is this, is you're a CEO, you're a business owner, you're just starting out, and the identity of your company often comes out of you. And what I've seen is companies become 3 and 5 years old, they begin to misalign themselves because they make decisions based on circumstances and they forget who they really are. So for me, brand actually keeps us on track to why the company started in the first place. So you can keep referring to it and say, hang on a minute, are we making brand decisions, or are we making decisions based on the circumstances that have kind of hit us and we make decisions that way? So branding in its core becomes an accountability document because it's your voice to the world, and the strength of brand is you being consistent to what you're saying. So brands that win have an integrity because they are actually who they say they are. You know, one of the brands I really enjoy is a brand called Innocent, and their phraseology, the way they write, the way they speak is great. But if you just take a step back, if you look at some of the decisions that they made, they sold to the big evil company called Coca-Cola. So you could ask, was that decision on brand or not? Now, come on, if you've got a £500 million check for Coca-Cola right in front of you, yeah, that's an interesting conversation to be in. And I think where they got to is that if we were going to let Coca-Cola take this brand on, we want to begin to reshape the values of not only us as a company, but even Coca-Cola themselves. And I believe those conversations actually happen. So, you know, listen, Innocent are a mega successful brand. I'm Darrell from Bristol. But the point of it is this, is that your brands keep you accountable. And a brand for me is about mission, it's about vision, and it's about values. Your mission is your purpose, it's your why. We've all heard Simon Sinek and that type of stuff. The vision is that big, scary goal. You know, you could argue that the vision for NASA was let's land on the moon. So I use that as an example because once you've landed on the moon, what next? Well, they look across and they go, let's land on Mars. So a vision can often scale. You know, so your vision might be, I want to be the #1 company in the UK. But that vision, once you've achieved it, you want to be the #1 company in the world. So it does unfold, but the mission remains the same. So I think the big distinction between the two is vision is unfolding, whereas mission is essentially why you exist, and that should never change. And then the values part of it are the things that help us make the right decisions. So a decision would be this, is, you know, if one of your values is integrity, I know we try and funk them up a bit more. If you see another branding with integrity in, you're like, oh, not again. But integrity is this: if turning up to work on time is part of being integral, you know, being a person of integrity, if one of your staff members doesn't turn up on time, rather than say, I'm sorry, you're a problem, is to say, no, 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 no. Our values is integrity. Every time we turn up late, we're now breaking the value. So what happens with values is values becomes our plumb line in order for us to stay true to our mission and achieve the vision. So values become this thing that you can reward and discipline against. But if someone is always there on time, or like 20 minutes before, or, you know, goes the extra mile, that's what you celebrate, because they're celebrating the value that you all hold common as a team. So for me, values are really important for businesses going forward, because it takes them to a place whereby it establishes culture. If everyone's playing by the value game and everyone's doing the values, so they're actually real and not just letters on the wall, all of a sudden you've got a destination workplace rather than a step-up workplace. You know, my goal would be that our business over time becomes a destination for designers and web developers and those kinds of things, rather than a step to somewhere else. You know, and how do you do that? Well, you remain true to your mission, your vision, and your values. And once you're true with those things, it's very easy then, when you know who you are, to engage with the audiences, which is what brand is. Brand ultimately is what other people are saying about you on a regular basis. But first you've got to know who you are before you can, you know, engage the who's your who. So for us, sometimes we're not very clear on who our audience is when we're starting a business up. And so I really say, well, find out who you are first, and then you'll realize who you want to serve. So the great thing in business today is that we're putting service, putting the word serve back in service. If we can put the word back in service and we find out who we can serve the best, we now have not only people that buy into a brand, but brand advocates, people that talk about us when we're not in the room. And so strong brands are people that talk about us positively when we're not in the room, because they say, I know their mission, I know their vision, I know their values, and they stick by them, they live by them, they make decisions based around that. And so therefore now you have a strong brand message, and you've got other people saying that's really strong. And then when you go to market, when you're looking to create offers, and when you're looking to find out where these people live, whether it be Facebook or on the web, and find out what strategy you need to, it's very easy to make those offer decisions and where I'm going to spend my money to engage them decisions, because I know who I am and I know who my audience is. And so many companies spend a lot of money in coming up with new offers by changing the look and the look and feel, and spending money in different places because they think that's going to bring the result, when in fact what they needed to do is go back to story, find out why the company started, what's the vision, are we on mission, and what are the values that bring the best people that we want to work with together to then serve our audience the best. For me, that's the power of brand. When you have all those pillars in place, the way it looks and feels becomes a lot easier. And then you can hear things like, well, that's not on brand, or that's on brand, because you know who you are. And so I think a lot of businesses out there have an identity crisis. They run for maybe 3-5 years, and they kind of, this isn't kind of what I was trying to build. And it's literally symptomatic in them not knowing or misaligning where they started in the very beginning. So there are just a couple of things there. Is double down on message before you get to what the logo looks like. Because ultimately that is what a brand is. It's about the message. You know what? Logos change, logos evolve. You know, 1976, a young girl came out with a tick and the word Nike on the top and got paid $50. That's probably one of the most recognizable brands in the world, Nike. It's now just a tick. But I think the slogan is often remembered more than the actual tick itself. Just do it. And here's the thing, when you know a little bit about Nike, the word Nike in Greek means victory. So victory, just do it. It just adds another dimension to that brand, but because they know who they are, they then go looking for the audience they want to serve, and they want to serve winners. So I'm a Liverpool fan, Hooray. And Nike are now working with Liverpool. Why? Because they could see that they're winning rather than failing all the time. So they're associating their brand with winners. When Liverpool don't do so well, which I hope it just carries on for the next 30 years, if it carries on, then they're going to try and keep that brand as much as possible because it reinforces what they're about. And I think when you know who you are and you know who your audience is, therefore you have a strong brand, and every piece of assets and marketing collateral that exists underpins that. So whether every logo, letterhead, email signature, all those other things is just reinforcing your message of that. And I just do 2 more things and I'll be gone, I promise. 2 more things. If you're looking for purpose and meaning, have a look at the UN Sustainable Goals. Pick a couple and align your business to those. And the other thing is, have a look at B Corp on the internet. Begin to build your company as a B Corp because they help you build a business for profit and a business for purpose. And just answering their 200-worded questionnaire will give you a flavour how to build a purpose-driven company. So thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Darrell. That was really, really great. Jessie, do you want to jump in now?
Yeah, cool. So Darrell touched on everything, basically. Like, that was great. And I agree wholeheartedly with a lot of it. I think when people think about brand, everyone likes to think, and just sidebar, my dog is roaming and she's growling. So if she starts barking, I will mute and put her out. Just that might happen. But yeah, when people think about brand, it sounds fun. You want to think about colors, you want to think about fonts, you want to think about logos and how your website is going to look. And they are important. But for me, I've been working in marketing for about 8.5 years now. I always gravitated towards the more brand side of marketing and creating content and tone of voice and online presence. And I always enjoyed those. But I really understood what branding meant when I started at Signable, because it is so personal. It is about your company culture and it is about the company story, because as soon as you have that, as soon as that is in place and it is strong, you know what you want to care about and you know what you want to talk about, and you know how you want your employees to feel, you know how you want your customers to feel it. And once you have that and people want to be a part of it with you, that's when you know you've got a really strong brand growing. I used to work at companies where we had a cool looking brand and we had a cool product and it was doing all right and we had a good website presence and loads of followers and social media, but it always felt kind of shallow in a sense, I guess. It's quite difficult to say, but as soon as I started at Signable, the owner is Ollie, and he started it. The product came about because of, it was a solution to his other business he was running at the time, because it's an e-signature product. And it wasn't intended to be this product, but the solution and the means behind it meant that it was a relatable story that people could totally buy into, because they also run their own businesses and they need those problems solved too. And then if you start talking to people in a human way, people just really flock to you and you're able to create something really real on the back of it. We started slow, we made it really personal. I think as well, having that kind of personal story means your brand is unique. And I think when it's unique, you're able to deliver that kind of emotion behind it and separate yourself from your competitors in the industry. And once you focus on those values, that's when you're able to start creating a brand that people can just really buy into, basically. And yeah, I'm finding it really difficult to think about anything that Darrell didn't talk about. Because that's fine. You nailed it. That's really it. Once you figure that out, you're able to then define your personas. Those are very, very important to your brand. Once you figure out who you're talking to, you can figure out where they are, you can figure out what platforms you need to be on, you can figure out your tone of voice and how you're going to talk to them, what comms you're creating, what messaging you're going to be putting out. Is it valuable? Is it relevant? These kind of things, like you said, like we're putting the serve back in service. Like once you stop trying to serve yourself with your brand, like no one cares about you as much as you do. No one does. And as soon as you're able to start putting something out there that serves your customers and other people and provide value, then that's what people are going to care about. And then that's why they're just going to invest in you a lot more. And they're going to put a lot of trust in the service or product or whatever it is that you're providing them, basically. That's kind of, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Jessie. And Trudy, do you want to talk about your sort of, your history of branding and what it means to you?
Okay. Hello, my name's Trudy Avery from Avery Creative, and I tend to work with new startups, micro businesses, and the kind of people who I talk to on a daily basis. I've just started up in business, and they come to me mostly looking for a logo to start with. And one of the first questions that I would say to them would be, okay, so, what do you do? Who are you? What do you do? Who do you serve? And when I get to the who do you serve bit, quite often, and I would say probably way too often, most people say to me, oh, anyone would benefit from my products and services. I can do this because I've got these qualifications and I've got this experience and I've done this, and this. So I can help this person, this person, this person, and this person in a very holistic service. Oh, no, la, 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 la. And I go, stop there, stop, because your brand will not thank you for that. So at that point, then I just really start to dig and really go into, okay, so what do you care about the most? What are your most intrinsic values? I know you want to look professional. Everybody says, I want to look professional, but, like Darrell was saying about integrity. Everybody has integrity. Everybody wants to show that they have integrity. So there's a few values that are a little bit bland in the values landscape. So we've got to keep digging. What makes you unique? What makes you you? And yes, your experience does that, and your personality does that. So what is it about your personality that we can really pull out and get that into your brand? Because when your brand, if you think about your brand as a person, and a lot of the time, obviously for me, the brands of my clients are my clients, because they're one-man bands, one-woman bands, and they're setting up, and it is all about them. So it's like, okay, so what is it about you? What can we do? Are you straight-laced and serious? Are you fun and exotic or extravagant? And it's about getting those features and really trying to bring those into the brand, because like the guys have said, it is very much about connecting with people. And the only way you can connect with people, the best way you can connect with people, is by having things in common and sharing values and sharing traits. And people are coming out there, they're looking for a solution to their problem, but they're buying on emotion. They're buying on 80% emotion, which is then backed up by 20% logic. So it's very much about they're going to feel something about your brand. They need to have this perception about your brand. They need to feel that you understand them. They need to like you. They need to have some kind of connection with you, and that's what brand does, and that's why brand is so important. So that's why when people come to me, ask them every question under the sun about everything to do with their business, not just about what they do, and who they are, what their personalities are, what they care about, because it's on that level of what they care about that they can find who they're talking to. And by the time I finish with them, if they dare to say to me, I serve everybody, I can do all this for all these people, then that's it just doesn't happen. And I do find out, interestingly, that a lot of times when you really dig down into the one-man bands, the people that they perfectly serve, the ones who they understand the best and that they want to work with the most, are people very much like themselves. And that's really interesting, because it just goes to show that their journey, their knowledge, their life's work, everything that has brought them to where they are, has given them a superpower in this sphere. And that is the one that we can then build on and put out there and share their story and really open up and make the brand much bigger and show much more personality and values, and that will attract then the people who are like them. So that's why it works so well. I love it when I see all these nods. Ooh, yeah. But yeah, that's, you know, and the other thing about branding, and this again is touching on what the guys have said, is that yes, you've got your brand, okay, so you've got your logo, and now it's time to roll it out, and you get your website, and you've done all this research, you know who you are, you know what you are, you know who you serve, you've got your wording right, your tone of voice right, you've got your colours, you've got your fonts. The biggest, most important thing then is to use them all the time, everywhere. Not and I'm talking about the smaller business, not the likes of Innocent who've got like massive teams, but every company, every business, every one-man band that I set up is a brand, you know. And once I've designed a logo, I'll always hand over the brand guidelines, and I say, this is your color, or these are your colors, this is your color palette, this is your font, or these are your fonts, this is your logo, and you need to use them, because it's repetition, and it's building and building. The strongest brands are the ones that are the most consistent, so they use their messages consistently across on their website, on their social media, on their advertising, on their leaflets, on everything. They're really consistent. They become famous in their own living room for what they do. And it's through that consistency of delivering the message in their brand font with their brand colours that will really embed them into everybody's psyche. So yeah, my best advice really to small businesses is to really think about your brand as being famous for something. So decide what you want to be famous for. It doesn't matter that you can do loads of things. I mean, I'm a graphic and web designer. I do all sorts of things, but on social media, I just call myself #logo-lady, because these days, anytime anybody says, does anybody know somebody who can design a logo? Everybody's like tags in Trudy, Avery, because I'm so consistently putting it out there. I am logo lady, that I'm right there at the front of people's minds. When anybody says, who needs a logo lady, get one from her. So doesn't matter if you can do this, and this. Think about what you want to do the most and become famous for it, and really keep on with that message, so that people really recognize you for it. Shall I breathe now?
Fantastic, that was brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. That was really amazing, some insights. Just got a couple of questions. So one person's asked, I know, Darrell, you mentioned Innocent and Nike, but what are your favorite brands that for you as someone who works in branding, they've done really right, and they've got it really good, and you wish you were behind that brand?
Oh, that's a really good question. I like to talk about brands that I'm actually involved with, not that we create them from scratch, but you might have changed the messaging. So one brand that I've been part of for the last sort of probably about 18 months is a company called IntroBiz. They're a networking agency. They basically are networking, but they had to make a massive pivot at the time when we're building their website. And it's connecting communities for global opportunities is what we come up with as their strapline. And why when you say, is it a brand that you like working with? Because they had to literally flip a model that was built on going to hotels and eating horrible breakfasts to completely go online in the middle of COVID. Because literally overnight their business had gone. And what they did is they began to bring people together in Zoom situations like this and live what they were about, connecting people. But they just did it globally rather than in a hotel. And that is exciting when someone that takes their message and pivots off the back of it and doesn't allow method to dominate the message. So all they've done is they've kept the same message, they just changed the method. So that's a brand I really like. In terms of look, feel, if there's a brand I could work with, I think you go far away to maybe like work with someone like Aston Martin. That would be quite nice. You know, obviously the car landscape's changed massively with the whole petrol, diesel and that sort of stuff. And seeing like Jaguar have shifted a lot of their focus to electric only. So that would be a sort of world I'd like to get into. But I think brands now for me are brands that help. Tom's, anyone heard of Tom's? So they're a shoe company that exists online. And if you buy a pair of shoes, they then send another pair of shoes to someone in the poor part of the world.
I have heard of them. Yes, yeah.
So I'd like to work with someone like that. You know, we'll actually get it, but I do derive a lot of satisfaction in showing people there is another way than the way they're doing it right now, and saying, "Have you thought about people, purpose, planet?" Rather than getting just the money in and begin to shape that message. Okay.
Excellent. Jessie or Trudy, anyone?
I've definitely got one. Well, there's two. So one I really like is HubSpot. As this is more marketing chat, I'm sure everyone knows HubSpot, but they're a marketing automation SaaS tool. And maybe I'm just biased because one of my biggest focuses is Signable, and it's a SaaS tool. But I really love their way of marketing. Like, they are about showing that they're experts in understanding marketing and also providing value to your business. And they do that. Like, their tool is very efficient, their support is great, but also their bank of content that they put out, like the free resource available, like showing and demonstrating exactly how they are these experts and how they write about it and how it's easy to translate to everyone and accessible to everyone. I think they absolutely practice what they preach. They put on great events. Like, they're great, and their brand is nice. I think that nice is a horrible word to use. Like, their brand is great, but I think as well the way that they've positioned themselves as that kind of automation tool, like that could be a very dry corporate area to go into, and other tools that you look at kind of are, I think, in comparison, but they still, that their brand just reflects that friendlier tone, like, you know, talk to me like I'm 5 way of teaching, like no assumptions. It's great. I really like them. And Buffer, the social media management tool, I think they're great as well, but for a different reason. I think they are a company that really gives a shit, excuse my language, about their culture and their values, and they totally back that up. Like, they've written values that aren't just, you know, we show integrity, we respect, we perform. It's actual actionable things. Like, give them a Google if you haven't. Like, I'm sure you probably have, but give them a Google. They're really great, and how they put their culture into practice, I think, is a really admirable way for such a big company to do it. So yeah, they're 2 really cool brands.
I always struggle with this question because I'm a bit like a magpie in a way. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And I look around, and every week I've got a new best favorite logo. But I, you know, for me, one of my values that I find really important, that's way up there for me, kindness is one of my biggest brand values, and also being kind to the environment. So like Jessie just said, you know, it's massively important to me that brands show that they care about what they're doing to our planet. So, you know, I'm loving people who are talking on LinkedIn about, you know, what policies they're putting in place to help the environment, what people are doing to help the environment, what new products are out there to help the environment. So, you know, in terms of any specific brands, I don't know really. I just think that it's hugely important that brands in general are embracing these issues and really getting behind the issues and doing something and using their brand power to push forward and to make a change and to create a new world that we're all looking for, that we all want to be better.
Fabulous. So I've got another question from Laura, who's one of the attendees. So hello all. I'm working for a startup launching a plant-based milk in a few weeks. Sustainability and nutrition are the core of our business, and I would love to have some advice on using social media to really convey this mission. So yeah, how do you use different mediums to convey the mission statement?
Well, that kind of follows on from what I was just saying, isn't it? I mean, sustainability, and when you're on social media, for a start, don't just talk about your business, because social media isn't there for you to go out and say, buy me, buy me, buy me. Social media is there for you to go out and say, these are the issues, and this is my knowledge, and I want to share this with you. And you give and you give and you give on social media, and you give your knowledge, and you give whatever you can, so to help people, to change their lives, to make their lives better. And that is what brands do, and that's why people choose brands, because they make their lives better. So this is going to be hugely important in terms of your tone of voice, what kind of personality are you trying to portray, who are you trying to talk to. So talk in that right tone of voice, and just keep giving, and the people who you want to talk to the most will listen to the words that you have to say if you've got a clear message. So yeah, just talk about the good stuff, the stuff that you care about, the stuff that you can really connect with people about, because the things that are important to you are going to be important to the people who buy your products too. So that's where you'll come together.
Yeah, I would say, sorry, I'm leaning. With my glasses, look at that. It's not intentional. The two things I would say with brand is about creating belief and then create a sense of belonging. So belief, if you were doing a social media campaign, is tell them what pain you're solving. Create the empathy piece. Empathy is, as Jessie said earlier, empathy is massive. If you can actually put yourself in that person's shoes that was going to buy that product, and think about what they're going through. They might have, problems with intolerance levels, issues like this. They've avoided dairy for so long, and then there's this opportunity that they could actually have that. I mean, coming to a breakfast table, let's say, and they're asking for the milk. There's that embarrassment question. Well, why do you need it? Create that sense of that belief that you can solve that problem. You can take away that pain. And then the belonging piece is then show other people that have been on the journey. So, if I was you, social media, it's a difficult one, but I think you need to do it, is give away product and then get people to say a few words about it. And that can be just a video with your phone. That could be some text. Show it in action and show someone tasting it for the first time. And, we've seen it works. The A/B test, this is milk from Tesco's versus this is milk that you've come up with, and show that reaction in social media and show those real life reactions. I think one thing with digital now, and particularly phones, is you can create authenticity fairly quickly. And so, particularly on social media, create the belief, and then you create the community by that sense of belonging. There are more people of that demographic all talking to one another. Share recipes. You can cook with this stuff. All those sorts of things that it becomes a knowledge exchange.
Yeah. 100%. I echo everything that Trudy and Darrell have just said. I think social media is a perfect opportunity for social proof. Like, that's huge. People are always checking reviews and things like that now before they purchase anything online. And it's so easy to create communities and audiences online now, that if you do, like you say, I previously used to work for a company that had a drinks brand, and I used to just give away products all the time. Like, I just used to do constant giveaways, because people want stuff for free. And if you can get, like, you send it to them, they use it, they are excited, they want to engage with you if they like it. That's user generated content. You can't put a price on it. It's got so much value, and you can always reuse that, and it gives you so much credibility. Absolutely do that. Like, find influencers. I think a plant-based diet at the minute, obviously there's so many people that are exploring that now, and there's so much more of a market for it at the moment than there was before. You're going to find people who are quite proud of the fact they have plant-based diets. So reach out to them, offer them, again, some for free. Would they write a review if they got it? Share that. like that's the place to go. I also think for social media and your brand, it's very useful to have pick one platform that's more long form and one platform that's more short form, and then just really divvy up the content you're putting on both, like loads of pictures, loads of quick bites of information on your short form. Just keep it populated and talk about it. Don't talk about yourself all the time, like talk about other people. Like I said earlier, people don't care about you as much as you do. Like they care about themselves and they want to know how you're going to help them. And then on your other platform, yeah, like go for the empathy, have longer pieces of content that talk about why this is good for you, how this is going to help, like problems you probably experienced, like show your understanding that you care about what these people have gone through and that's why you have this product. And yeah, promote that way.
Fantastic. And I've got a question here about what do you think the impact of COVID and lockdown has had on branding? Are brands better to acknowledge what's going on or to kind of carry on, I guess, regardless? Or how do you think people's experiences of lockdown has then fed into branding?
I think the big shift in brand that is coming and now has just been accelerated tenfold is brands that existed as one thing have had to change. They've had to become more of an educational tool. So I'll give you an example. Red Bull don't see themselves as an energy drinks company anymore. They see themselves as an extreme sports company that provides drinks. Pampers don't see themselves as a nappy supplying company. They see themselves as a parental advocate first, and then sell nappies off the back of it. So it's this whole piece that's flipped, is that where in your business or your brand or whatever you're doing, where can you create a place of adding value that then people find out what you do second? You know, that's the big shift. And I think with the online platforms like Zoom and getting people in the room and having these online seminars and connections, and then that's allowed us as business owners and CEOs to educate and offer more value than we ever did before. And rather than be scared of saying, oh, I don't want to give my trade secrets away, it's those that do, actually people then buy into it because they say, I can trust this person because he's got nothing to hide. So that's the big shift in what I think anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's not necessarily come about because of COVID, but it is the way that it's all going. We've kind of come to that realization that it is about what we can give. It's not about what we can sell and how much money we can make. It's about really and truly how can we serve? Exactly as Darrell said in the very first bit. How can we serve? And you just give away as much as you can of yourself to build that trust, to build that relationship, and the brands. That's what we're all doing. That's what you have to do these days, and that's becoming the new norm.
Yeah, 100%. I think people really want to see that your brand cares, basically, at the minute, that, you know, you're not some giant faceless company, that you are, like, there's people here and we're all going through the same thing. And it's that creating a sense of community and helping each other. And, you know, you had a lot of bigger companies giving away their services for free for however long they needed to in order to help their like company along. Like, you know, at Signable, we froze prices, things like that. Like, you just want to show it's like, yeah, you know, we're all in it together and we will help you, basically. Like, and yeah, as these guys have said, offering your services up, like not being afraid to help, because people are going to trust you as soon as you've done that. Like, they're going to know that they can, you're not going to take something away in the future, that they can put trust in your service. Yeah.
Fabulous. I don't think I've got any more questions. If anyone has got anything they want to ask, speak now or forever hold your peace. But yeah, you can catch up. We'll be putting the recording of this up on our website at oneupcoworking.com. And so if anyone wants to see this, then and sign up for our newsletter, because we'll have all our future events on there as well. And I dropped in everyone's LinkedIn's, but we'll have, when we put up the video onto our website, we'll also link everyone's sort of websites and LinkedIn and things like that. So if there's any you want to follow up with any of our panelists today, head there and feel free. But if no one else has got any questions, then Sophie, our content creator, always wants a screenshot. So if all our panelists could smile at the screen for a second, and I'll take something. Fabulous. Thank you very much.
Cheesy smile.
And yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honour. Thank you.